I don't.
Right.
Can I say it again?
Yeah, you can see it again. Yeah. So, hello and welcome. We're just doing a little bit of training here. Hold on. Okay, so who's this, Ollie?
Oh, God, I know this one.
He's on the show. He's on the show we're about to review.
Going by his skin tone,
yep.
I imagine I'm going to take an educated guess. That's Orange Cassidy.
No, good guess, good effort. No, that's Matt Cardona, mate. Yeah, no, that's Matt Cardona, the former.
Who's Matt Cardona?
He's the former Zack Ryder. He was literally on this show. He's in.
Zack Ryder. Woo. Sure.
That's the one. Yeah. Okay, but it's okay. Do you know what? That was a tricky one.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do one that's slightly easier. Okay.
Cool.
Who's this fella?
I know him.
What is? Yeah.
Ultimate Warrior. One. The signs in the background giveaway.
Sorry, who did you say was?
Ultimate Warrior. Because the sign.
No. That
taking
is
the ropes. Nope, he's gonna Hulk up and shake the ropes.
No, that is Hogan. Hulk Hogan. Jam that jam.
Oh, yeah, but Adam won't use that. Like that's pretty niche. He usually uses bigger names for stuff like this.
You're absolutely right. That's on me. That's on me. That's on the trainer there. I got that one wrong. Okay. One more. Got one more, okay? Then
okay. All right. I'll get this one.
Okay.
I'll get this
you got this one, okay? 0 for 2 so far. Let's see if we can make it 1 for 3. Who's this?
That's my boy Manta.
Yeah, the Manta movement.
The Manta movement's coming for you, Quizzlemania. It's coming for you, Fightful. It's coming for you, Wrestling with Regret. It's coming for you, Going in Raw, because Ollie and Luke are here, and we're teaming up for Quizzlemania 2000 next Wednesday. The boys are bringing it back home. Yes.
I'm genuinely so excited for Quizzlemania 2000. The tag team spectacular. It's going to be great.
It's going to be a train wreck. What wasn't a train wreck, however, was last night's episode of AEW, because he's back and better than last year. Eric Bischoff made his he was the mystery surprise person who was going to moderate the Super Wednesday debate between Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy. Yeah, it sort of leaked out last week on Reddit. That whoever's doing those leaks now, that's 2 things they've got exactly right. So when they post their next spoiler, it's most likely going to be true. So we all kind of knew it was going to be Eric Bischoff leading up to this, but AEW kept it a surprise until he actually came out. Yeah, Eric Bischoff on a TNT wrestling show in 2020.
I would have thought they'd have advertised it ahead of time. To maybe try and get that. Like, I know surprises can often draw people in, but to actually advertise the Eric Bischoff, particularly because a lot of the people that are after in terms of the audience are those people that were watching Nitro in the 90s, to be like, hey, look, Eric Bischoff's going to be on TNT for the first time in 20 years. I would have thought they would have done some advertising around that, which is why I was holding out hope it was going to be Lance Storm. But shout out to not only that, the person who reported it, but the super chat we had in last week. They said it was going to be Eric Bischoff. Absolutely. Well done, you, sir.
Bang on the money. Yeah, that was before the report leaked, wasn't it? That was just some speculation from someone. So this was a good wrestling cameo. I think, the last 5-10 years, we've seen many nostalgia acts from the past come back and either be used a bit rubbishly and get buried, or they're used to bury everyone else. So it's always this idea of people from the past are more important than the present. What I thought AEW did tremendously well, and actually looking back at AEW, its history as a promotion, have done very well throughout, is using characters from the past, DDP, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard. They're using these huge name wrestling icons to supplement the present, not to overtake it, and they don't get overexposed. It was a perfect use of Eric Bischoff here, to the extent it was so good that I actually want a bit more of him.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I didn't get that from this the same way that you did, that you were kind of when we were talking about what we're going to call this show, and you said Eric Bischoff as AEW general manager, and my instant thought was, absolutely no, I don't think we need a general manager type authority figure, particularly because they're now saying, Tony Khan is making the matches. So they've kind of already got a storyline version without the need for an on-screen character. But I will give the devil his due, because I'm not the biggest Eric Bischoff fan. I thought he was very, very funny in this segment. I thought here the interplay with him and Jericho was really funny. There's that moment later when Jericho is like, I've known you for 22 years and I've never liked you. And Bishop just goes, it's 24 years.
Yeah, and I know exactly how you feel. He was, yeah. So I guess the larger debate is, does AEW need a general manager? No, they don't. They're making some cracking TV. I thought this was one of the best episodes they've ever done. I feel like I say that every week at the moment. You know, the old, hey, if I want to get someone into wrestling who's dipped out for a while, I'll show them this episode. Here's another episode that I would show them just from a starting point. But with Bischoff, I was all set up to not like him because, you know, he's very combative. He's a troll, essentially. He's a people from past who are stuck in that, hey, all heat is good heat. It's like any publicity is good publicity. Controversy creates cash. He's kind of one of the leading proponents of that mindset in the wrestling business historically. So it's like, you know, Eric Bischoff, Jim Cornette, people who just say controversial things regardless of the facts, get a rise out of people. So I was like, I'll see how he is. You know, I always like seeing the Bischoff on TV, but because he's such a good performer, I think he's still got that gravitas and presence. But when he was there, he actually gave so much to people. I thought, man, if someone booked Bischoff as a character correctly, that could be a force to be reckoned with, even now in 2020.
Well, I was going to, it's easy to forget how good Eazy-E was as a character during the Nitro days. Like, you know, he legit was like, him and McMahon weren't just fighting over the ratings for their company. They were fighting over the ratings for each other. You know, they were both characters on TV that were drawing ratings, and Eazy-E would draw legit heat from the crowd because he's such a smarmy prick. At least, you know, he certainly was like in the late 90s, because he's just got that face about him that's just this young, cocky, arrogant dick. And I think now in the sort of like Twitter landscape and the sort of like modern day of wrestling, where he's got his podcast, which is essentially I like Brian Alvarez : the podcast. It's I think he could be quite a good combative character, kind of in the way that people said like, oh, wouldn't it be hilarious if Jim Cornette was in AEW? It's like, no, I think it'd actually be quite troublesome. But Bischoff could like fill in that sort of that role that people want Jim Cornette to fill in AEW.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Cornette's such a divisive character as well, but as just if you take all of their personal baggage out of it, putting both of them on TV as characters, as performers, Jim Cornette is fantastic as an on-screen personality. His promo skills are almost unparalleled, even to this day. And to put him, and like obviously his wrestling brain as a sort of creative force behind the scenes too, I think. And you can take or leave many of his suggestions. But it's a shame that there's these really, really talented people who I would argue, you know, Bischoff, who's to say he wouldn't pop a rating and then continue to pop those ratings if announced ahead of time, if more of a permanent presence on Raw? Because he doesn't really work as a manager of a wrestler. He's never been that kind of guy, really.
Actually, I could get behind that. Yeah, I do. Like, he feels more like he would be like an authority figure, a GM, if you will.
But yeah, should Eric Bischoff be a general manager on AEW TV?
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no for this one. I don't think as a company it particularly needs a general manager. But if it did, I mean, to be honest, like, it probably would be the best choice out of sort of the legends that they have, because he's already got kind of like that gravitas about him of having sort of like pride. Like, he'd be a better choice than DDP. As much as I love DDP, Eric Bischoff would be a better general manager than Dallas would. So maybe I'm talking myself into it. My initial gut reaction is no, but like the more I think about it, more like, well, if you're going to use a guy like that, maybe that is the best choice? ?
Well, yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? And you say DDP, he's got that lineage as a wrestler, but you know, the lineage of Eric Bischoff on TNT, kayfabe running a wrestling promotion, it does fit. Let's see what you guys think.
But just before though, do you not think it would get the complaints of just like, I mean, people already say that it's WCW 2.0 or it's TNA 2.0. And, Bischoff has been a GM for both of those shows. Do you not think that would just further those comparison from the negative Nancy's who already aren't buying into the company?
Oh, definitely, without a doubt. Definitely. I guess the question I'm more interested in is what will actually be more effective. So if you sort of take out the Twitter buzz and storm or any sort of inflated, over loud whining, it's like, would Eric Bischoff in 2020 on a wrestling show as a general manager bring in lapsed fans, i.e. create a net gain of viewers overall to a significant portion? I think if done rightly, it could. But the key there is right. It's. Should we see what everyone says?
Yeah,
I saw in the live chat there was a lot of no.
Yeah. I think
no.
might, I was going to say there's a lot of people who are saying no. In fact, pretty much, I mean, everyone is saying no. Gabriel Caruso, our first one here, to answer your Eric Bischoff question. No, not again. For the love of Christ, no. Also, Darby Allin should be called Darby All In because the dude rules. 100% every match, he's the man.
Yeah, brilliant storyline. We'll get onto that later. Josh de Dominic says Bischoff on TNT again was really cool.
Yeah, so I did enjoy Tony Schiavone calling Eric Bischoff like that. Actually, that's a little bit of chills there. That was quite nice.
James Hanley, if the debate is the wrong way to promote a match, then I don't want to be right. So that's the sort of the overall segment, not just Bischoff's involvement.
I loved it. I thought it was a great segment.
Jobber JJ496, Holly Davis's #1 fan, Mantar movement leader right there. Orange Cassidy is the greatest. He should beat Y2J.
100% agree. I think you've got to get Cassidy gets the win here, gets them one apiece. You build to the rubber match.
Siddharth Online, Cassidy promo was great, but the whole format was WWE.
I think that's unfair because, like, to say, like, I'd be saying, like, oh, they did a promo in ring. That's very WWE. Well, I don't think it's specifically a WWE thing because WCW did these sort of things. TNA did these sort of things. Like, every wrestling company has done this sort of thing before.
Yeah, I think what Siddharth is doing there is using WWE as a shorthand for rubbish, right?
Yeah.
Because in truth, like this is an in-ring segment. And in-ring segments aren't exclusive to WWE, and there is a wide-ranging quality of them. You can get excellent ones. Some of the best things in wrestling have been in-ring segments, but then you can also get karaoke segments too. I thought this was really good, and you shouldn't paint. I mean, even WWE put on fantastic in-ring segments as well. You can't just all dismiss them because they're not in-ring wrestling and it's not 2 hours of pure New Japan style stuff. Meltzer. I love you, Dave Meltzer. Zachary Jenkins, Orange promo of the year, LOL.
I mean, it was probably Orange Cassidy's promo of the year.
And Kevin, this is an interesting point because I think this is more what I'm getting at, but maybe it's sort of not coming across well. Bischoff as a general manager doesn't necessarily mean he'll be a creative backstage. I think a lot of people are afraid he would destroy AEW like TNT and WCW.
TNA.
I said TNT, yeah, TNA.
He's literally going to destroy the entire channel. I think that is a fair point. Like, as a character, yes. As a creative mind backstage, perhaps not. As a business maker, perhaps not. But yeah, maybe it's just like, that's actually probably on me as well. Like, I think I do that. Like, as soon as you say, like, Eric Bischoff's going to be involved, I'm like, oh no. Like, I just get flashbacks to him ruining my favorite promotion in TNA.
Yeah. It's. I'm not saying that he would have any creative involvement backstage. I'm purely as a on-screen character and using that on-screen character to draw lapsed viewers in. Actually, we've had a few more on Bischoff come through, so I'll do those. Sawyer, Bischoff was surprisingly tolerable because he was used with restraint. Totally agree. That is the key to this cameo success. But AEW shouldn't have any authority figures, no GMs, no commissioners, please.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I do agree. I do agree to an extent because we've had so many years of wrestling promotions run around authority figures. But I do also love a great heel authority figure.
I like a good baby. Like Mick Foley, when he was the commish, That was great.
Yeah.
It was so good. An authority figure can be good if the whole like promotion's not built around them. Like that's the problem that WWE have often had with their authority figures is the whole show gets built around what the authority figure is doing when they're not the important character. Like they're just a facilitator for the other characters.
Yeah, they had tremendous success with the Mr. McMahon character, and then just tried to repeat that since. And why wouldn't you? It was such a industry-defining feud. Anthony Pride, if you had listened to the podcast between Bischoff and Tony Khan that happened before Fight for the Fallen, Tony Khan has great admiration and kind of mirrors the good years of WCW.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's it. Like all of WCW wasn't bad. In fact, there was some really, really great stuff in there. And Eric Bischoff was in charge when the good stuff was happening too.
Absolutely. Like the Sting run into Starrcade is genius booking that was just ruined by politics and ego.
Yeah. And House of Fuel, surprised that business ethics wasn't on the debate topic. So, yeah, thank you very much for your super chats. We will get to all of them throughout the show. Don't worry. We'll be answering them all after we've done our play-by-play review. But before then, Luke, usually you announce your Friday podcast co-host.
Oh, and I'm going to do it again, my friends. Boom! It's Muscle Man Malcolm is joining us for the podcast tomorrow on Friday. Very much looking forward to having a chat with him. I'm going to be recording it after I've done this podcast, which is going to be a lot of fun. Really looking forward to having him on the show. Go check him out over on YouTube. He is, Ollie. He's one of those young YouTubers that actually does like proper YouTube videos.
A vlog.
Oh yeah. Like the way he edits and stuff. So I was watching his videos, like, oh, this is what you're meant to do, not what we do, which is very ramshackle.
Yeah. So the WrestleTalk news, that was me trying to do that style, but not doing it very well. It's sort of creating this naff offshoot style.
It's become our own style.
So what are you going to be talking about tomorrow?
That is to be decided after I've done this show. Likely something around Raw Underground because people are still talking about it. And it's like I recorded something with Laurie about it today for the Fight Network podcast show. And he said, like, I'm so glad you asked me to talk about this because I've not got a chance to talk about it. And I've had so many thoughts.
What was his thoughts?
He thought it was absolutely a yay, just not the way that they did it. Like, it was Shane McMahon and his Air Jordans. Like, just his term was, it was like the rich kid's birthday party, and he got to do whatever he wanted.
That's a great line. Right, so should we get on with all of this episode of Dynamite? I've already kind of said my thoughts for the overall episode. I thought it was women's division aside, which is. We'll come on to that. It is what it is, unfortunately. You can launch as many industry-changing subscription platforms as you like, Brandy Rhodes, but probably start at home first. I thought this episode was quite brilliant in a different way to previous episodes. I've liked a lot of the last couple of months of AEW's, like a lot. But this one struck an emotional character chord that I found a lot more rewarding than normal.
Yeah, the amount of times I wrote in my notes, that was ace, or that was really good, or in the case of the opening 12-man tag, fantastic match that was so great and it ruled and I loved it. I mean, we'll get on to the women's stuff because boy, howdy is there stuff to say. Just when I think, man, we can't have that conversation again for another week that is literally verbatim every week. Turns out there's even more to say this week. But yeah, overall, I very, very much enjoyed the show. I thought this was a great episode of Dynamite.
Yeah, before we actually get into the thing, I've just seen a comment. We should probably address it. It's from Fightful Pro Wrestling because he doesn't have anything better to do, Sean Rossap. 6 days, you losers, he writes. 6 days.
Thanks for the viewing figure, Sean.
Yeah. That's all you are to us. You're just a little number on our live stream concurrent stats.
No, he's just one of the many numbers on our live stream stats.
You're all numbers to us. You're all All numbers. Right, so
it's not true. That's not true. You're all people and we love you.
Speaking of numbers, there was a lot of them in this opening tag match. It was. So you get a cold open on Dynamite. Unfortunately, no Excalibur again. I still really miss him, but JR was nowhere near as salty as last week. I think people had a word with him. Although...
Well, it was taped last week.
It was taped last week, yeah.
Yeah, so that which explains why Excalibur wasn't there. But I think someone had said to Jay, I was like, "Will you stop bringing up the referees? Calm down, will you?"
So this opening 12-man tag, which I didn't think would open the episode, I thought this would be more. Well, I guess you had the world title match, so it's a perfect place for it. Really, when you look at the overall structure of the show, great way to hook in people right from the offset. I cannot wait for the demos this week. The camera opens on the Elite and FTR, and they're all just standing there in a row, all 6 of them in the ring already, no entrances, and the camera's like down low looking up at them. It's your typical superhero shot. It's the Avengers shot, right?
It's the Civil War shot, right?
And then, just like the attention to detail here, it says FTR and the Elite. And I'm like, which side does Hangman Page fit into? Because Page said he left the Elite. So I thought, but usually it's the Elite and Page.
Yeah, Double or Nothing, he came back to the Elite.
I was reading all the little text to see if there was any mention of Hangman's allegiances, but alas. And then it cuts from that shot to a reverse shot of the corner of the ring, which has all 5 members of the Dark Order there. Well, 4, sorry. And Brody Lee in the middle, like just sitting on the top turnbuckle, just sitting there looking out over his empire. And Colt Cabana is also there, just slightly along in the apron. With 2 shots there, 1 edit, technically, 2 shots edited together in the middle. You have told so much story. I know that Colt Cabana is slightly still adrift from the Dark Order. He hasn't fully joined yet. I know Brody Lee is one mean mother effer. I know that the baby faces are all standing together right now, but there is some dissension. You don't have to do 48 camera cuts in 2 minutes. It's all I'm saying. I just thought, what a way to start an episode.
Yeah, I thought this was so cool. Did you see the tweet that Hangman Page did last week? When he had the match graphic and it was, the Elite and FTR versus Dark Order. And he said, when you think about it, we're sort of in a cult too. And Colt Cabana replied to go like, not me, mate. I'm just hanging out with friends and having wrestling matches.
Cult performance. Oh, man, I nearly emailed him after watching this episode again. You are so good right now. Yeah, I've got his email.
What of it?
So, yeah, you start
let me pick that name up for you.
Cheers, man. Can I?
Yeah,
I'll email him now. You've not just got a feud between these 2 teams. You've got feuds within, not feuds, but sort of character dynamics within the teams. And there's so much story and character potential to talk about here. Haven't even touched on the FTR, Hangman Page, Omega stuff. They're the number 1 contenders.
Yeah, right.
And you just put all that to one side, but tell it at the same time as having this absolutely blinding, exciting, drama-fueled match.
Dramama? Was he a baddie? Was he a baddie for Doctor Strange? Dramama.
Dramama.
I've come to bargain, Dramama. I mean, my favorite, I loved this match so much for all of the reasons and the Dramama that you talked about there. But my favorite bit of Dramama in this was there's a spot in this, and he was already selling this anyway. Dax picks up an injury. He doesn't move, and he hurts his knee. And he kind of goes to the corner, and Cash goes over to him, and the Young Bucks go over to him, and they go out of the ring. And everyone goes out to check up on him, apart from Kenny Omega, who's just like, I'm just going to continue wrestling this match now.
He's the legal man.
I know he's the legal man, but everyone else is telling, oh my God, this guy's injured. Kenny's like, no, I'm not even going to check, not even checking on him. I'm just going to continue wrestling this match. And then they take Dak to the back and the Young Bucks come back, but Hangman Page doesn't. And so it's Kenny and the Bucks against 6 guys. And then from out the back comes Hangman Adam Page because Matt can't get the hot tag, right? And so Hangman Page gets this hot tag, who is full of fire and just hits the most fire hot tag comeback. It is amazing. It's insane of how good it is. He like throws whichever one, like it was either 5 or 9 into the corner, begging Brody Lee to tag in just face to face. It was so great. And the finish saw Hangman Page nearly take out Omega with the buckshot lariats, and he would have done had Uno and Grayson not pulled him off the apron, and he turns into a discus clothesline from Brody Lee for the win. It was just spectacular stuff. And that is just one storyline that was running through this match.
Yeah, we can't touch on everything, although I really want to. Although I really want to say Matt Jackson also had a hot tag to lead into Hangman Page's hot tag that was Cesaro levels of running around the ring and taking out everyone. I also want to say I can't wait for Stu Grayson to eventually get a singles run. The man is Carl Anderson levels of awesome. You know, like, I'm just waiting for him to get a TNT title feud with someone. I love watching him wrestle. But yeah, this is all Brody Lee. Like, just because in that bit when Hangman Page is running wild and like Brody Lee is just staring at him like, who's this prick? To use a Lucasm. Is this prick think he is? and like Brody just stands on the apron and watches Page take out members of the Dark Order, even though he could step in and stop him. And Hangman Page gets all the way up to the top turnbuckle, does the big moonsault to the outside. Brody just watches him. So Hangman Page gets in and then stares down Brody, and Brody's like, oh yeah, boy, it's on now. And I was scared. I was scared that the Elite were going to win here because the Elite are the tag team champions. They have every right to win still. Mm-hmm. But definitely booking wise, long-term wise, it's the Dark Order that had to go over here. And I'm really, really, really into the Dark Order right now. I can't believe how good a job they've done with this faction.
It is remarkable, right?
So when Brody won, I legit popped at 7:20 this morning. I yelped out loud. I don't do that often because I was just so happy that this was done to perfection.
Yeah,
the Dark Order. The Dark Order looks so important now because they've beaten all these people. But all the people they've beaten do not lose a thing because they were beaten by themselves.
Yeah. And I was going to say, almost to echo just your point, this was a great night for the Dark Order. They looked so, I mean, because a lot of people will make fun of the Dark Order and be like, it's hard to call them an imposing force when they do lose a lot. But, you know, like, they looked so great on this night, not just in this match, but in the tag match later with Cody and Matt Cardona. Reynolds and Silver were my MVPs of that match.
Same. Like, poor Cardona. I'm not thinking about Cardona. I'm thinking about Dark Order, and then I'm thinking about Scorpio Sky.
Yeah.
And then I forget what else happened, you know? It's but an absolutely just perfect sports entertainment, perfect professional wrestling, just brilliant. Oh, and Cabana knocked out the Chicago skyline as well, which I love seeing. So then we got a Jon Moxley promo after Taz revealed that Ricky Starks and Brian Cage are banned from the night, from the arena. Really nice just attention to detail there to explain why Cage is away and still keeping Cage in that mix of title contenders. 3 people right now feuding over Mox's belt. I really like that. But Mox cuts this promo on a stairwell, which wasn't like, you know, it's not flashy, like, wow, one of the best promos of Mox's career. Like, you know, how Cody can just pull out of his back pocket at will, seemingly. This was understatedly one of the most emotional promos he's ever cut.
Yeah, this was talking about how when I was younger, I was a very reckless wrestler. You know, I would do death matches, I would do this, that, and the other. And it turns out now I'm the voice of reason. And Darby's like a younger version of me. And the last time we were in the ring, I nearly broke his neck. And I don't want to be the guy to end Darby Allin's career. So when I tell you to stay down, you better stay down. And that's the thing with Moxley. What I love about him is that he doesn't need to do career best promos every single week, because every promo that he does is just like, it gets over everything you need to do. I think he's just fantastic. I really love him as world champion. I really do.
on that line, when it's time to stay down, just stay down. It continues, even though I know you're not going to listen, because I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Like in that line, he's, and it's so vital because now you've given me so much context going into the main event where I can see it's not Mox just wrestling with Darby Allin, who he's a fan of. So there's already that dramatic conflict there anyway. But he's wrestling himself.
Yeah.
So he's
Right?
sort of making peace with the past. Then we got a really solid tag match.
Yeah, which again had so much wicked character work in there, because one of the things that I can say about AEW, aside from that they've not done right by their women's division, I don't think they've done right by Santana and Ortiz either. Like, it's legit one of the best teams that they've got in that in a company that's got the best tag wrestling on the planet. Santana and Ortiz are among the legit elite that they have, but they've not really been given the proper push that I think they should have. So I was really worried going into this, being like, man, because they're so high on best friends, this is just going to be another loss for Santana and Ortiz. It's another loss for the Inner Circle. That kind of sucks. But it was all character based, so they took that loss and just used it to motivate other things, which is a brilliant way to turn a negative into a positive. The commentary putting over that this is Santana and Ortiz, one of the best tag teams on the planet. They're not in the top 5. They were, and they're not. This match for them now is a must win. And they dominated this match for a large portion of it as well. Absolutely dominated it. And could have picked up the win on a couple of occasions, but best friends, showed some resiliency to keep kicking out. And they won with a surprise, roll-up win. And the look on Ortiz's face when he got rolled up and pinned told you everything you need to know, which is just like, I cannot believe that we lost again. And the frustration on both him and Santana was wicked, to then play into the angle they did later on. I thought it was wicked stuff.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that angle now? Because best friends, Chucky T and Trent drove Trent's mum's car. Trent's mum, called Sue, to the arena. They parked it in a safe place. They put great that I didn't pick up on it at the start, but they went through great lengths to say we're going out of our way to make sure nothing happens to this car. I'm like, oh yeah, good parking space, bro. So it seems totally normal to me that you would reference how safe this area is. But of course, it was all setting up a attack on the car. Santana and Ortiz, in this frustration, went and just destroyed this car, with the sledgehammers through through the tables, through the windshield. There was a great bit at the end when Ortiz just lobbed the sledgehammer like a dart, and it went through the front windscreen. It's like,
and all the while Ortiz is screaming, "Do you think we're a joke?" Do you? And I thought that's it. That's what you need to know from this, is that people are treating them as if they're a joke.
Yeah, and it's weird because it's kind of a jokey feud, right? If you wrote this down on paper, 2 guys drive their mum's car to the show.
It's not just a car; it's a minivan.
It's a minivan.
Minivan.
They drive their mum's minivan to the show, go and wrestle, win a match, and their opponents then smash the car up. That's inherently a silly storyline, but they played it so straight that I am now more scared of Santana and Ortiz. It's interesting to see the Inner Circle right now, because although they are affiliated, we are seeing them branch off into their own feuds more. And initially, when it started to happen, a month or 2 ago, I was a little bit like, but I like seeing them all together all the time because they're so good together. But now I'm a bit like, this is actually quite needed.
Yeah, I think it is. It is quite needed. It's kind of like you have the New Day at the moment with Kofi and Woods out injured. E's going off on the singles run. You didn't need to break the team up for E to have a singles run. You could just do it with the team still intact. Same with Kofi. Kofi didn't leave the New Day to have the Kofi Mania run. So I quite like that. Yes, Santana and Ortiz going after this and being this more vicious, and that fits in with Jericho doing trying to have this more vicious feud with Orange Cassidy.
Yeah,
that also has some comedy elements to it.
I really like it. Trent took it was Trent being worked over for the entire match, by the way. He didn't even get a hot tag to Chucky. So they're still very much on the Trent wagon. They love Trent. He's fantastic. Another killer segment right after this, because it was the follow-up to MJF's campaign launch last week. His address, his presidential rally to become your AEW World Champion, a champion we deserve. He gave us a tour of his campaign HQ. He walks in through the door. Someone offers him, like he goes, cue ball over here as a bald guy. And the guy gives him some gum. And immediately, like there's no way he could have tasted it, MJF spat it out and said, "That's terrible gum. You're fired."
Yeah. And then a lad didn't have a poster up straight. He's like, "Does that poster look straight to you?" And he's like, just doesn't even look at him. He's just like, "I don't know." It's like, well, if this wasn't on the floor and was used up here, you'd see that it's not straight. And then points to, what was the girl's name? He's like, "Give me the numbers."
Yeah,
don't
I
talk,
can't
just
remember her name.
smile.
Yeah, because he's getting over that sort of misogynistic thing of all women should smile, otherwise they look unattractive. But yeah, the stats, the polling figures had him with an 188% lead.
Yes. And Moxley had, I believe, a minus 80% deficit against him.
Yeah, MJF had about 500 million votes. Like, I'm not making up those numbers. I think it was in the sort of 8-figure range.
Yeah.
So really, really funny. Really, like it's a really interesting way to take a world title program. It does make the world title feel really important, in that it's got this kind of presidential pomp and circumstance behind it.
And I love the line as well, because someone asks him, "What if Darby Allin wins tonight?" And it's like, "Oh, what if the 120-pound emo kid wins tonight? Yeah, it would suck to fight him for the title," which sets up the seeds that happen later on in the main event. I thought it was great stuff.
Smart heel, because it's not about the wrestling. It's not about who he gets to face. All he wants is the title.
It's not even about it. It's not about Moxley. Like his whole "Mox isn't my champion" is not about Jon Moxley. He just wants the title.
It's kind of Triple H like, right? You know, like Triple H, his strongest run was because he was just obsessed with the title. It wasn't really about who he was feuding with most of the time. It's just Triple H doesn't want to lose the title in the sort of peak of the Attitude Era. So yeah, he's got that sort of compulsion, but in a different way. Loved it. After that, we had Matt Hardy come out. Well, he was already there, cut to the ring, and he cut this like... It was an interesting promo. I didn't know where it was going, really. He said AEW listens to their fans. You said you want to see Matt be Matt. So that's why I'm trying to help Private Party. I see a lot of my brother and me in them. I also tried to help Sammy Guevara. And he sort of goes down the Sammy Guevara feud route, and Sammy Guevara eventually attacks him. They brawl. But the crux of this promo was... the fans didn't like the broken Matt stuff, which, we said it was jarring a bit and it wasn't really connecting. And he was kind of admitting that they've dropped it.
That's exactly it. It was a bit like when Brandy did that interview with Brian Alvarez saying, "We've dropped the Nightmare Collective because the fan response we were getting for it was negative and it wasn't working. So we're course correcting." That's what this Matt Hardy promo was, is that when I came into AEW, I wanted to do the broken Matt Hardy multiverse with all of these characters because I thought that's what fans wanted. But what you've told me is you don't want that. You just want me to be Matt Hardy. And so that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be Matt Hardy. I'm going to listen to the audience.
If that is really what he said, because, next week he might come out with a totally different personality and say, that was a different Matt who said that. If what he's saying is true, and that's actually what they're doing, then bloody hell, that is such a difficult thing to admit to in front of everyone as well. Like, we got it wrong. And it's not just like we got it wrong. That is a gimmick that Matt Hardy created, had such success with, to a limited audience, as always remember. But, and it was really close to his heart and really turned him around from this kind of joke, unfortunately, in the wrestling industry to this genius. Yeah. And he goes to WWE, he signs a deal with the devil. They don't give that gimmick sort of the sort of attention and prominence it warranted, really. And now it's passed him by. It's quite sad. It's quite tragic that he won't be able to do what he wants, really. But to be able to recognize that it wasn't working, because it wasn't terrible, but I wouldn't say it was. I was looking forward to these segments every week.
No, and I think you're right. Like, it must really suck for Matt because he signed with WWE at the height of the Broken Hardy stuff being like, and he was on top of the indie world with the Broken Hardy stuff, and everyone loved it. Signed with WWE, and they were like, not doing that. You're a nostalgia act. You're just going to be the Hardy Boys. And Matt wanted to do the Broken stuff and wanted to do the Broken stuff. Finally convinced WWE to allow him to do it. We'll do it a different version of it. You can trademark. You can do this, that, and the other. WWE gave it a half-assed attempt and basically allowed it to fail. And so Matt then spent the remainder of his WWE contract as a nostalgia act, frustrated. So he's gone to AEW. He can finally do all that creative stuff. And what the fans told him was, we want you to be a nostalgia act. That must really break your heart, man. I mean, I think like I haven't seen it, but I think he said on Being the Elite or something that he is still going to do the characters on that show, but it's just going to be part of the Being the Elite world as opposed to being on Dynamite. And to be honest with you, like I kind of said it from the start, it didn't work when he was teleporting all over the building. The segment with like when Jericho was feuding with Vanguard, it just wasn't really working. It didn't gel in AEW for whatever reason.
Well, the reason's quite clear. It's not a promotion that logic can sustain that kind of zaniness. It's too reality focused. But yeah, mega props to Matt and AEW for course correcting so quickly. And not just like pushing ahead regardless of what was working and wasn't. Must have been a difficult conversation to have had with each other and themselves. But yeah, Sammy snuck up. And I thought this was actually the most into Matt I've been for a long time, actually. Sammy sneaks up behind him. Matt got in the "I knew you'd come" line, which was a nice reference. And they brawled. What a brawl they had. They go outside. Matt looks like he felt like a legit hardcore threatening, credible force here, towering over Sammy, but Sammy also was giving it back. Chucks this chair at Matt's face.
Bloody hell did he throw that chair at Matt's face?
Yeah, but you can work it. You get your hands up and you slap it down, makes a really good sound.
I mean, like, he bled a gusher. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it.
That was a blade job, surely.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, the way that it was either such good selling, but it looked like Sammy just threw that so hard that it hit Hardy in the face.
It could be. Just I would imagine. I mean, he visibly got his hands up, so I don't know how that would work. Also, the camera then followed Sammy Guevara all the way up to the ramp, and he stayed up there for a bit. So the camera wasn't on Matt, where I presume he was blading. I don't know that for sure. It's just how it looked to me. And then Sammy does this, like, usually he gets more air on his flips, but this was just like, he launched himself downwards. Still managed to fit in 3 spirals. But yeah.
So, I mean, I for me, if I was to be making predictions, this feels like it's building to a TLC match at All Out between Sammy and Matt. Or even like Sammy and a tag partner versus Matt and someone else. But yeah, like with the table and the chair and the doing the dive, it just felt like, yeah, maybe we're building to TLC.
You son of a bitch. Don't you get me excited. You know how much I like TLC matches. It's one of the few gimmicks that really still get me going.
Yeah. Apparently Louis just messaged me, said it wasn't a blade job. Matt needed 13 stitches.
Oof. Wow, I hope he's not concussed. Maybe that's why Sammy stalled at the top. Then he was like, "Oh crap!"
That's what I figured, because like Matt was bleeding a bloody gusher. Like it really was deep.
So then we got the Ortiz and Santana beating up the car spot. Oh, we've got to mention it because it is a logic hole. There were cameras inside the car.
Yeah, didn't need it, mate. Like what did that camera angle add to the beating of the car? Like, it added nothing. It didn't need to be there.
More camera cuts because it exposes folks that it's kind of fake pro wrestling, because why would the cameras be set up inside the car to catch this supposedly impromptu attack? I started to try and justify it in my own head. I was like, well, they did drive the car there. They knew that maybe they did some ride along stuff before. And I thought, if I'm trying to make this work this much, no, it's not right. this is biased that my mind's trying to make it work. This was a bad logic hole. After that, we got possibly the weakest thing on the show, apart from the women's division, which is a real shame to say, because it was Matt Cardona's in-ring debut, where he teamed with Cody. He got a big pyro pop when he came out. They were against the Dark Order, John Silver and Alex Reynolds, two guys who, were fantastic, but they're jobbers, they're enhancement talent, really, in the grand scheme of the promotion. And like me and Luke said, after the match, all I can think about is how good John Silver and Alex Reynolds are.
Yeah, I mean, my notes are very slim on this match, which is just they're building to the Matt hot tag. He gets it. Bloody hell, Reynolds and Silver look amazing. Cardona hits radio silence and wins. Yeah,
not the rough Cardona. It's radio silence. It's the Rough Rider. He's got it, given it a new name off his old entrance music. Also, freaking out, you never see this because it's such a dangerous bump to take. Cody and Silver did a suplex over the rope. So, you're in the ring and you suplex over the top rope. Always gets reversed, apart from a few rare exceptions. There's one in the CM Punk John Cena 2011 Money in the Bank match. And they just took this because, when you go over, the momentum and the sort of weight on the other side, damn physics, just spins you over. Oh, yeah. Looked like a nasty bump, but I do appreciate the commitment. But yeah, Cardona just hit a pretty basic hot tag and won.
He looked good. Like, he looks in great shape. It's, I think it's the best in ring he has felt in many, many years, probably since WWE pretended to care about him in 2010 or whenever it was. But it didn't, as I said, I came away thinking, man, Dark Order are really, really cool. And Scorpio Sky came out to challenge Cody. And I saw Scorpio's promo that he did on Dark. And I was like, I'm kind of more into that. And Cardona just sort of felt like the third most important thing in this segment.
Yeah, it's a shame. It kind of is similar to what we just spoke about with Matt Hardy, in that you do a deal with the devil, and the devil, it's up to him how he treats you. And sometimes if you stay there too long, you give up your best years, and you also are presented in a certain way for so long that it's very difficult to ever shake a certain image of you. And this was our concern that we said last week about Cardona. And he needed an impressive performance here. And it was very vanilla. I hate to say.
I hate to say it as well, but as I said last week, I'm already getting vibes that we're getting Cody versus Cardona at All Out. Cody will win. Cardona becomes Sean Spears. And it's just another, I all power to Cody. He fully believes that Matt can get himself over again. So when he got himself over to that level with Z True Long and Long Story, he can do it again. I don't know. I think too much time might have passed.
Then we got the AEW Super Debate, which Trent and Chucky sort of not accepted, but they shouted at LAX, proud and powerful, for the car spot. But the Super Debate Wednesday segment was where Eric Bischoff came back. We've spoken about him, but we haven't spoken about the Cassidy Jericho interactions. Jericho answered the first 3 questions, being like, Cassidy sucks, I'm the best. Cassidy just gave each question a non-answer. He didn't say anything because he's low effort. And then Eric Bischoff asked the 4th question, which was, what's your views on climate change? How would you solve the climate crisis? Not a wrestling question, not a question pertinent to this feud. And Jericho answered as much. He said, I'm not going to answer that. It's a stupid question. It doesn't relate to what we're talking about here. Goes over to Orange Cassidy. And Cassidy just reels off quite a detailed, eloquent answer about climate stats, the rise of sea levels across the world, the sort of investment that needs to be taken to combat this. And it was a really well done gag. He's actually done something similar in the past for his film reviews. Have you ever watched one of these?
No.
It was I can't remember what show it used to be. It was sort of it was Trent Beretta. No, not Trent. It was Chucky T's compendium show thing. But Orange Cassidy did movie reviews in gimmick. and it'd be like, "Good fellas, good." The Godfather. Yeah, it's all right. And then it goes on and on, and you do that for about a minute, and then it goes Fast and Furious, and he does this 4-minute long breakdown of everything in Fast and Furious, and goes. So it's yeah, I found it funny, and that was the answer that won him the debate.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Silent Bob moment of you don't say anything for the whole movie, and then you do the big Chasing Amy speech. I thought it really worked, and actually, what I really liked about this segment and why this particularly worked for me, although my big note from this is that it would have been so much better in front of a live crowd, because if you had a live crowd that was super into Cassidy doing the big "oh" before he'd answer a question, but it was Cassidy's reasoning behind this, and like Cassidy kind of made this whole segment make sense, because really, when you write it down, why on earth are we having this big debate? Like, it makes literally no sense. But Cassidy breaks it down to be like, you arranged this to embarrass me because you want to have a debate with the guy that doesn't talk. But I'm not embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed by any of this. But next week, I am going to embarrass you because you're going to lose to the guy with his hands in his pockets. And it really I thought it was such a great promo and a really good build for next week's match. I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
It's classic Jericho. And the person who said that the in-ring segment felt too WWE, I think that all of WWE isn't bad. This is the exact same structure that Jericho's best segments had in terms of like a Festival of Friendship, say, where it's comedy, 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 comedy. At the end, you twist it, you go serious. And it's such an effective sleight of hand move. I thought it was very, very well done too. And it has made me into this feud again and into Cassidy when I was waning after the initial match. My little prediction, by the way, to build the rubber match, Cassidy wins with Mike Tyson's help.
Well, I mean, yeah, I feel like we're still building towards something with Tyson at All Out. Yeah, possibly.
Jake and Jericho also attack Cassidy. Jake Hager looked really, really good in this. Like his offense looked really legit. Then we got the women's segment. It can't all be on YouTube, can it? So Britt Baker said that Reba, which is Rebel, is going to face Big Swole. If Big Swole can beat Reba, then she gets the match with Britt Baker. This was announced last week. And Rebel has a match with Swole. It's a comedy match, goes a couple of minutes. In kayfabe, she's a makeup and hair person. She's not a former wrestler, but she is. She was in TNA. And she wrestles as if she doesn't know how to wrestle and keeps fluking out good moves. And then Big Swole eventually won with just a forearm. And it's like, this is funny. This is a funny thing. It made Big Swole look a bit rubbish because she was beaten up so much by someone who's not a professional athlete. But, I love the Baker stuff. This didn't really make me want to see Swole versus Baker more, but whatever. What the real pain here is that it was the only women's segment on the show. The same week that your all women's tag team tournament launched, you had nothing. You had no mention, no recap, no promo package of this supposedly industry pushing forward thing. And the day later, on the same day actually, AEW announced AEW Heels, a paid for subscription service, which is meant to provide a community for female identifying fans to feel welcome in, which is a great idea. A great, and the idea that you have to pay for it, I've seen some people be against, but if it is a sort of platform that helps develop you within the business, that is very standard. It's a professional thing. That's the vibe I got from it, because it's got like seminars and stuff like that. It's got
meet and greets. Like, you would pay to go to at Comic-Con, you would pay to meet people.
Yeah, it's not the price that's bad here. It's that it just feels like hypocritical in a way that we're the ones to teach you how to get ahead in women's wrestling, when your flagship show treats them as a massive afterthought.
Yeah, this was not a great week for AEW and their women's division. You know, kicking things off with that, putting it onto a YouTube show when you kind of you sort of advertised it on TV, and then said, actually, no, it's going to be on YouTube. So, and then you don't recap it on this show. This match is under 4 minutes, and it's the only women's wrestling on the show. It's it's actually a shambles. It is quite bad. And as you say, like, especially coming off the back of the really negative press that they got for AEW heels, which was not helped by Cody responding to people. Really, like, it was bad form on Cody's part to respond to people in the way that, like, not just responding, but in the way that he responded to people as well, in such a dismissive manner, I thought was actively damaging. I thought it was a really, really bad show.
But it's so baffling because they are so good at listening to every other bit of criticism, to the extent where we'll criticize a slight thing. You know, there's a few people complaining online about one little tiny thing, and then the week after they've changed it and made it much better. But we've been criticizing their women's division and the presentation of it since the start, and they make worse mistakes. I don't get it.
Well, no, and it's, you know, there was the tweet replies that you brought up in the news, which was that, like, you have a platform. It's called your TV show, and you've done absolutely nothing to better women's wrestling. I've got no issue with heels, particularly if it is sort of designed not just for female fans to have a safe space, because the fact of the matter is, you and I would wager probably a lot of the people that are watching this show will never know what it's like to be a female wrestling fan in such a male-dominated space and to feel unsafe at times. Like, we will never know what that is like. And I think that the AEW sort of providing a safe space where they can sort of enjoy wrestling and enjoy wrestling together, I think is actually a really good thing. And if it is sort of designed to sort of like how to improve yourself and as a wrestler to try and sort of like make bigger strides, you know, Brandy's doing like a social media seminar, although, I mean, first cool, don't do what Cody did. I mean, sort of like, you know,
here's our guest speaker, the Iron Sheik.
So, like, but, you know, so the price, and, like, you know, as I said, like, meet and greets and things like that. Like, I've paid to meet people at signings and stuff like that. So, and it's, you know, $50 for the year. Some people have misreported it as $50 a month, which is, you know, staggeringly, like, if it was $50 a month, then it's nonsense. People pay a lot of subscription service for a lot worse things than that. But the key point to this is that you launched this supposedly groundbreaking women's tag team division tournaments, whatever it is. And the two matches went out there, weren't great. And that's fine. You know, that's absolutely fine. But you can edit around that in a video package to kind of tell people to go and watch it on your TV show that's watched by more people. And they didn't. Louis said this morning, if you are watching this show and it's your first time watching it, do you know who the women's champion is?
Yeah.
And you don't. But you know who the world champion is. You know who the TNT champion is. You know who the tag champs are. No idea who the women's champion is, though. And they got 3 minutes, under 4 minutes for this match. So it's unacceptable.
It's almost like we're being trolled. It's staggering that a company that seems to have so many values in place can fail so spectacularly in such a big way.
Yeah,
but we've gone very long already. We should probably do the main event and all the Snapchats.
The other thing,
Super Chats.
all the Snapchats. The other thing on that as well,
all the TikToks.
Next week is Tag Team Appreciation Night. You're doing a women's tag team tournament. There's nothing of that on next week's show, because next week they announced it's Cody versus Sky for the TNT title, Cassidy and Jericho, Paige and Omega versus Jurassic Express, and Dark Order versus the Young Bucks, with the Rock and Roll Express and Anderson and Tully Blanchard having sort of like an in-ring segment. No women's matches announced for next week, not even when you're running a women's tag team tournament and it's Tag Team Appreciation Night.
Yeah.
Open goal.
Yeah, it is. That's what it is. It's the open goal thing. But the main event was, I think, actually superb.
Yes.
It was Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley. And Allin comes down with the printed out mask of Moxley, but one eye is torn out, which is a really nice callback. It's that attention to detail that really, really rewards you from long-term viewing and being a fan. And they just square off against each other in the ring. Moxley rips off the face mask, and I'm kind of like, I'm filling in the internal dialogue in my own head. I'm thinking Moxley's like, oh, you little punk, but I would have done exactly the same thing at my age.
But it's also like, it ties into Moxley saying that he's wrestling himself.
Yes.
He's wrestling a younger version of himself.
I didn't even get it was a freaking exact mirror image. Layers upon layers upon layers. It's really, really, really good. And Allin does a few slaps. Moxley, huge punch, busts open Allen's mouth. And that's the story of the match. Allin just won't give up, keeps going at Moxley. Moxley, stronger guy, bigger guy, boom, hits him down. It's like, stay down, stay down, stay down. Keeps on getting back up. And Moxley's kind of wrestling with this thing. I don't want to have to hurt you so much because I'm actually a big fan of you, kiddo, and I see a lot of myself in you. But ultimately, it's for the title, and he has to. Some sick bumps in this match as well. Moxley just throws Allin off the stage. And Allin gets so much speed. Yeah, and he just launches himself headfirst into the ring post.
Yeah, it was
commercial break.
Nuts. Yeah, absolutely nuts. And then they do this spot where Darby kind of like breaks Moxley's finger. So Moxley's then like wrestling with this sort of like broken finger. And that's when we got Wardlow comes out. MJF slides into the ring to hit Moxley with the title behind the referee because he'd rather face Darby Allin. Because again, it's not about Moxley really. It's a facade that he's made up that it's about Moxley's not my champion. It's in the same way that a president, or, the president is going to go, whoever the person he's going up against, it doesn't matter who they're going up against. The goal is to win. And so it doesn't matter that if Moxley's champion or Allen's a champion, they're still not my champion. I'm still going to be the champion. Which I really, really liked. And then Moxley kicks out of the coffin drop. Moxley's bleeding at this point. Counters the second coffin drop into the rear naked choke, just begging Darby Allin to go to sleep and give up. Busts out the Gotch pile driver for an incredible near fall. And then Moxley has to go to the corner and just sort of like almost say a little prayer to himself to be like, do forgive me for what I'm about to do. And hits the paradigm shift for the win. Absolutely loved it. Perfect stuff.
And the show goes off air as Moxley cradles Darby's head in his arms. It was just beautiful storytelling. It's like Moxley wanted to speak to himself as a kid and say, it's okay, mate. It's hugely, hugely rewarding. I really got a lot out of it. And also, like, during the course of the match, I thought, well, I'm loving this. I'm loving this story. I'm loving the character conflict. I'm loving the action. But Darby's not winning. And as soon as I think that, Wardlow comes out, MJF title shot. I get into those near falls. Just perfect. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. Overall, I gave it a 4 out of 5. But man, it's AEW has some high freaking standards right now, and that is a very big 4 out of 5. That's a 7 out of 5 for Raw, really.
I think I'd agree. I think I'm going to go high 3 for it, just because the women's thing really did irk me, and that kind of that takes it down a notch for me. But as you say, like AEW have got such a high bar for themselves that like. It isn't it? It's bonkers, but I love it. It's bonkers in such a good way that this was like an average TV show for Dynamite, and it was wicked. Like it was fantastic, and it was just like, that's just what they do on a week-to-week basis. I love it so much. That's
what I look for from the rest of the shows I watch. I look for most of the shows I watch to be consistently very good. That's why I watch them. It's not like this abusive relationship I'm in with WWE where I feel like I have to watch it because like I've watched it forever and I've got this weird compulsion to keep returning. I don't know. Anyway, let's get on with our $25 a month or more Patreon shout outs because we've got a lot of super chats to get to after that. Thank you. We'll always mark out for Ollie Landrum.
Hey, very nice. Luke's favorite fan, the one, the only, the awesome Bubba.
Thank you. The roller coaster, Robert Acosta.
Very nice. Don't have a Shane Cowley, man.
Thank you, Shane. Ryan B. Bad.
Oh, he's bad. Hey, do you know what? This guy can last Sean for longer than you in the ring.
Like it. The British Bulldog, Philip Boy J. Smith Jr.
Woo! There he is. Ryan Disco Stewart.
Like that. Your best friend, Neon Pal at...
Yeah. You're a wizard, Harry Burgess. Not really seen the movies. Don't know if that's a good impression.
The Snapdragon King, Ryo Adonte.
Always good. And he's no jackass, Dano.
Thanks, Dano. Thanks, everybody. Let's speed
I know we're low on time, but I do want to put over the Patreon poll for WrestleTalk Extra because currently it is hot, right? And it's hot because it's SummerSlam. Currently leading, and I believe it was neck and neck before we came on air. We're either reviewing SummerSlam 02, the return of Shawn Michaels, Brock versus Rock, or it's going to be, I think that's even got Test versus The Undertaker, or it's going to be SummerSlam 2010, 10 years on from the death of the Nexus, Louis Dangour's favorite pay-per-view of all time. And it's legit one of the worst shows in wrestling history.
It was a show that nearly quit. I nearly quit being a wrestling fan off the back of that.
Same here. Same here.
Closest I've ever come.
That is what we've got on offer. Those are the two front runners. Very, very exciting times to be a Patreon right now.
Yeah, so go over there, have your say, and we'll have that for you hopefully next week as a full 3-4 hour review with me and Luke. Right, let's speed through these super chats. Last call for those. Ding, ding, ding. Thank you, everyone who sent some in so far. Mr. Deegan 2. I really want MJF to beat Mox for the title, to then lose it to that 125-pound emo kid. I think there's a really good story there between them.
And if MJF does win, there's that Jungle Boy element on the other side as well, that eternal feud.
Charlie Davis. The Mox match was my favorite Mox match in AEW to date. The chemistry between Mox and Darby was off the charts, and the ending shot of Mox cradling Darby left me so emotionally raw. 11 out of 10. Yeah,
I think I agree with you there, Charlie. I don't know if it's my favorite Mox match because I loved that Brody Lee match.
Brody's
so
my
much.
favorite. Yeah.
But yeah, like he's just Adam, why don't you like Moxley matches? Put your head out your ass, man.
Yashasvi Tripathi. Against Bucks, Kenny was chummy and Adam aggressive. Against FTR, roles reversed. Effing brilliant storytelling.
I love Kenny Omega at the moment. I just think he's so great.
Everyone. Christopher Jazzcat. It's my birthday. Hey. Sadly, Raven wasn't the guest moderator. Met Eazy-E last year in Melbourne. He was great on Dynamite, built Cassidy and the match. Totally agree.
Yeah, just to save you in the comments, Melbourne, not Melbourne.
Melbourne.
They get very upset when you say that. Yeah.
Melbourne. Bacon Rasher, another great AEW show. I do wonder how they do it every week, looking at the mess WWE are in right now. Also really looking forward to Wednesday, lads. 100% support WrestleTalk and Wrestle Luke. Jam that jam. We're coming for it. My first ever victory. Charles Berg. Darby Allin is the you like turtles kid. Prove me wrong. He does have a facial similarity. Ifa Brennan. Orange Cassidy absolutely won me over. I used to hate him.
Well, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, of all the things to get you into Orange Cassidy, I wouldn't think it would be a promo. I think it'd be a wrestling spot. Wilson Simons. Never forget Jericho is a master debater.
It is. That was on Sammy's Signs during the ad break.
Here we are all master debaters. Eric Martinez. Drama-Rama sounds like the final boss of Raw Underground.
Dramama.
That
is Babatunde's new name, isn't it?
Yeah. Sean Turner. Eric comes to AEW. Sammy Sting confirmed.
Oh, bloody hell, not this again. I was actually thinking, just yesterday, I was thinking about Bailey Sting. Let's not start that again.
No. Kevin, we laugh at Reba pretending not to know how to wrestle. Was she pretending? Never forget the Shelly Martinez versus Rebel match.
Yes! I was so angry at the women's section. I forgot to mention that Rebel is one half of one of my favorite matches of all time. That Shelly Martinez match. Absolutely. Mwah.
Is that where they just sort of forget the spots halfway through?
That is with my favorite line in any wrestling show. My vagina hurts. The referee says, what? And Shelley just shouts back louder, I said my vagina hurts.
Also, what did the winners of the Deadly Draw win? Is there a prize? Equality.
The cup. The
cup.
The
cup. Evan Buckley. Lads, Hangman taking a pin. I can't remember the last time he was pinned. Also can't wait for him to get back into the main event scene.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm loving the work that. But do you know what? That's the thing I would actually say. He does feel like he's in the main event scene because the tag division does feel like it is part of that main event.
And really good build to a Brody Hangman Page match is happening, I think, and I can't wait for that. Jose Quinde, a tomato emoji?
No, it's an orange.
Of course. Orange to be the first to kick out of the Judas effect.
Could you imagine?
No.
I think it should be. Do you know what? I think it should be.
Maybe that's the way to get him over in defeat. That he loses, but he kicked out of the Judas effect. I don't know. I want Jungle Boy to do that. Sawyer, not only is the Elite going to end up abandoning Page, but so will FTR. Their heels just using him to get to the titles. Hangman will end up totally friendless in the end. My heart isn't ready. Best story in wrestling.
Sawyer, you've blown my mind.
That's great.
Blown my mind.
Dances with AK-47s. I popped for the Brody Lee pin too. The level of AEW storytelling is unparalleled. Other companies' shortcomings are even more obvious because of AEW. It does become difficult to watch other stuff. I agree. Shannon Smith. Matt No's character doesn't work without crowds. That's why he dropped it. That's an interesting point.
Yeah, Christopher, it could have been a very different story if Broken Matt had debuted. If there was a crowd there for that Matt Hardy debut.
Christopher Jazzcat, not enough time of Cardona in the ring. Cody is a heel. I didn't get that story, unfortunately, but that would have been interesting. Sawyer, I felt Multiverse Matt has been doing great on TV. He was so over in the Stadium Stampede in particular. I agree. How can we be sure it's not working when there's no fans? This feels suddenly revisionist.
I think it's a case of you go by, like I said this I can't remember where I said this now. I think I was talking about Bailey and Banks being like, they feel like the most over thing, although you haven't got fans, you just go by social media metrics. And if everyone is telling you through social media metrics that Matt's not working, then that's all you can go on at the moment. That's your audience telling you something isn't working. So I don't know if it feels revisionist because from day one, it's not worked for me.
Yeah. And if it did work for me, if I said that, now I can look back on that with hindsight and reveal I was just wanting it to work. I think that they were hollow laughs. Yeah, it is funny. Yeah.
Like when I came out of the Phantom Menace and convinced myself it was good. No, I was too excited. I was too excited to see it. That's why I didn't love it.
Christian Baltimore, Jericho's line of the night. You're a nerd, Cassidy.
Yeah, I'll see you in the mall serving me a drink.
Yeah. Mark Flay, that MJF title shot nearly got me. I thought Darby was going to win then. Yeah, it was great.
Because it was so beautifully set up in the MJF stuff. Brilliant. Malcolm Brown says, women's division missing 9 out of 19 signed wrestlers, either through COVID or injury. Some of these women aren't ready for long TV matches. Short and sweet to not expose them on TV. They deserve more time, though. That feels like an oxymoron there, Malcolm, because you've just said that they can't do it and then said that they do deserve it.
Still got 10 wrestlers for one title. That's more than enough. Yeah, and then just give them 2 or 3 short and sweet matches then.
Where's Abaddon?
Where's Penelope Ford? Where's Shida?
Yeah, right? Like Abaddon, you got over this. You did this big debut thing for her like a month ago. And haven't been back to Dark you go. Like, what was the point of doing the big debut thing then? Apart from manager going into the Dark Order. Anyway, Colby Dennis. Kudos to AEW constantly trying to build new stars while keeping credibility with established names people know. It's a great, consistent content on TV.
And we love consistency.
Oh, yes. Nikolai Azaparadi. The Elite booking their own matches is the biggest plot hole AEW have. Khan has said that he won't be on screen, so why not Eric? It should be a Jack Tunney-esque and should be done with a storyline with champ MJF calling out number 1 Omega or Cody.
Yeah, I think they've taken the Tunney approach so far, haven't they? I really like that. Yeah.
Matthew McFadden, Dark Order need to be a conquering force in AEW across all the card, men, women, and tag. Hell, even have them as a collective hold a singles title.
Well, they were going that route back in December, but they rushed it and it massively backfired. I'm a much bigger fan of the route they're taking now, which is long, drawn out, slow gathering storm in the background. So when they start winning those titles, it's going to feel like, oh crap, all these dominoes are falling.
James Handley, I understand that they are dealing with injuries, but why are they doing this tournament? And what did what did we get? A gif of a women's match quoting Blompier, and no tournament matches on Dynamite or Dark. Why? Where is everyone? That's a good point, actually, to sort of the comment we had earlier from Malcolm. Like, they've got enough women to do a tag tournament. So like, and you could have easily done those matches on TV. That's all I'm saying. Like, it wasn't difficult to put them on TV. Eldrick Simmons, steal a WWE female star to put in AEW to establish their division. I pick Sasha Banks.
Oh, Asuka. I go for Asuka.
I was going to say, I think we said this before. If they had got, like, if Sasha Banks had gone there, I think we would have had more focus on the women's division. But I don't think because they haven't got a name, they've not put it. Yeah,
they could have had Deonna Purrazzo. They could have had Deonna Purrazzo.
Well, in fairness, Deonna Purrazzo did say in an interview that she chose to go to Impact because the run in NXT hurt her so much, and it made her she lost all of her confidence about how good she was. So she's essentially gone to Impact to train to see if she is still good before she goes to someone that's got a big platform. It's her words, not mine. Kevin,
burying thing to say.
Throwback to every WrestleTalk NXT podcast. What's next for Shida, especially regarding All Out? Great question, Kevin. Great question. Who is even ranked number 1 at the moment?
They're all out injured, Luke. It's a shame. It's all circumstantial.
It's funny because people said that about Penelope Ford wasn't ready either, but then she had probably the best women's title match that the company might have put on. Will Ware, do you believe that AEW's women's division is in such a bad state that it might be time to take a risk and sign Tessa Blanchard? I don't think it is, but I feel like they need a big name.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because they would get a blowback because she does have that kind of past. But maybe if they sign her and then as part of the signing contract, make her go on a few sensitivity courses and sort of, it's a precondition of the contract that she can change, which you can do legally in contracts like that. I think it's well worth it. Plus, her dad's there with Tully, and she is amazing. So yeah, AEW could really, really do with her. WrestleTalk related. Jobber JJ496. All aboard the Mantor train movement. It's Ollie time. It's happening next Wednesday. Xandar. Hello, Xander. Mantor movement is hereby endorsed by Xandermania. Huge endorsement there. Amro, for F's sake, Luke, give Rick and Morty a chance.
I've seen the Pickle Rick clip and did not laugh. And that for me is what I get. That I've been told that's the funniest thing the show did. Pickle Rick got over massively. I thought it was a bit annoying.
Amro, not everyone can like what you like. Even if it's a show as great as Rick and Morty, I agree. I know Luke, he won't like it. And it will just crush us even more. It will crush us even more when he starts picking it apart in front of us. Michael Dominguez, last super chat because teachers go back on Monday. Good luck. Politics aside, our health is uncertain and we are all scared. I miss you all. Kept me sane during coronavirus. WrestleTalk for life. Oh, man, mate.
Stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe now. And also just put us on in the classroom. Inducts the fans.
We're informative. We're news, basically.
I'll just finish off these last-minute super chats that have come in. Ty Boogie, 3 women's feuds on NXT, 1 on AEW. NXT are blowing Dynamite out the water, I agree. Christopher Jazzcat, Zack Sabre Jr. needs to make Moxley tap.
Oh, man, Zack Sabre Jr. in AEW that'd be great.
Well, Moxley could encounter him in New Japan eventually, I guess. Ike D, what a fantastic episode of Dynamite, and how great did the Dark Order look. Wish they'd stop treating the women's division like an afterthought.
Yeah, that was a really good positive there, the Dark Order, and one massive negative.
What you've done is you've taken our entire 80-minute show and put it into one super chat there. Joey Plays. Did notice that after Darby hit the coffin drop, he pinned Moxley. How Dean used to pin people where he would sit on their stomach and hook their leg. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't spot that. Great. Yeah, well done.
Sean Turner finally here. Bailey Sting meme died when she turned heel. It peaked, and it was best to end on a high note than feel forced. But I'm going all in with Sammy Sting.
Come on, Sean.
It's the same meme, Sean. Oh, but thank
They've
you ever so
rebadged
much.
it, you fool.
And another epic feud. We'll try and scale it back a bit as of Monday. But there's so much to talk about in wrestling at the moment. Raw Underground, Eric Bischoff, all of the things. But stick around because we've got NXT coming up later today with Luke and Laurie. That was also quite a newsworthy show. Luke has his podcast tomorrow.
I do indeed, yes, with Muscle Man Malcolm. There he is. Boom!
Yes.
He'll be on the show tomorrow. Very much excited for that.
We've got Pete and Andy on SmackDown's review and all the usual stuff next week, along with Quizzlemania 2000, the tag team YouTuber extravaganza. Go over into Parts of Unknown and set your reminder now. Also, Luke's got a new series debuting on Parts of Unknown on Saturday. It's bloody brilliant. We're all very proud of it.
Thanks, mate. I'm very proud of it as well. I'm really looking forward to debuting that on Saturday.
Yeah, so go over and give that a subscribe. But for now, go and watch the WrestleTalk news that went up earlier. I've been Ollie Davis. This has been Luke Owen. And that was wrestling. This is Simon Miller.